everybody, I'm back. So let's dive into something that I've been working on lately, which is actually Daggerheart. I've been trying to prep to run my own campaign in Daggerheart, and as I go through the rules, I'm actually realizing there are a lot of cool mechanics and things that you can take from Daggerheart and put into other tabletop games with relative ease. So let's talk about those things. Let's dive in. One of Daggerheart's standout features are the use of domain cards. Each ability or spell is right on a card in front of you, making it really easy to reference and to play. And you can bring this to D&D. Obviously, Wizards of the Coast offer their own version of spell cards. I myself, when I was first playing a druid, used druid spell cards in this manner. But there are actually printable spell cards that you can get online. I even have one in the shop that you could purchase yourself and fill in, or simply just use some index cards and write it all out, and then you have the cards in the same manner. It gives you something tangible to hold and look through while you're at the table, kind of making it easier to parse through all of your abilities. Physical tokens are kind of in this same vein here. They're also a really big part of Daggerheart, which makes tracking resources pretty easy. You can use tokens in D&D for things like inspiration, for spell slots, for conditions. And even if you play online and you're using a virtual tabletop like Foundry, you could use tokens to track fear in Daggerheart or to track anything. At my table, I actually hand out a special D20 to people who have heroic inspiration. I usually put it right on the table in front of them so that everybody can see, oh, this person has heroic inspiration, and help remind them to use it. But it's a physical reminder and something tangible to hold on to at the table that really kind of helps with that mechanic. If you like what you're watching, consider supporting me on Patreon, the best way to support creators on YouTube. You can get behind the scenes, plus you can get ad-free versions of my videos. Also, live streams, there's shop discounts, hopefully some paper products coming out, definitely a magazine in the works. There's lots of stuff there. Link in the description. Daggerheart emphasizes your characters' backgrounds and connections as a core part of character creation. They do this by putting questions on the character sheet themselves, 6 of them, in fact, which I think is way more effective than the bonds, traits, flaws section on the D&D character sheet. No matter what system you are playing, try to go deeper with your character. Flesh out the relationships, the past events, and how your character knows others at the table to add more story and roleplay opportunities to help build that narrative. This is further reinforced by their push to help build the world. So allow players to add points of interest onto your map. Daggerheart gives blank maps and it actually encourages players to add a town, flesh out details about that and NPCs, and lets them really take ownership of the world. This gets them more invested in the story, more invested in the world that you build, because you're building it together. This is definitely not a mechanic that's Daggerheart specific. So next time you do some world building, allow your players to help. This kind of leads me to the next point. Daggerheart treats Session 0 as essential, and you probably should too. This Session 0 is the time to set expectations, to discuss the campaign's tone, to build connections between the characters and the world if you're doing the map suggestion I mentioned earlier. And this is a step that's critical to any tabletop game, not just D&D, not just Daggerheart, to make sure that everybody's on the same page and really ready for fun. Daggerheart introduces mechanics too that are unique to each of their settings. And I think this is one that I find extremely interesting. Each setting that they have provided in their book offers something unique. So for Umbra, there's the lurking darkness, which means resting outside the sacred pyres requires a roll and something interesting could happen. Then there's Beast Feast, where they introduce a unique mechanic for turning monsters into a food source. Obviously, you can do these kinds of things in D&D as well. Look at Drakkenheim. Drakkenheim has a whole set of contamination rules, where exposure to magical pollutants, aka delirium, leads to horrible mutations. and fun, if you ask me. Don't be afraid to add custom mechanics to your world to really reinforce your world's setting. Finally, the thing that I noticed in Daggerheart was the tag team roles. In all of my playtest games, this was the one feature that every player was really hyped about. And I think this mechanic is a little bit difficult to recreate in things like D&D, which is why it makes Daggerheart a little bit unique. However, I do think there is an equivalent. So for D&D fans out there, a group skill check would be a very good equivalent to this tag team mechanic. Or you could do something that is more montage style, like draw steel runs. Either way, you're allowing players to kind of describe that creative team up for like a more dynamic, action-packed scene. You could also just adjust combat in D&D and allow a little bit more flexibility at the table. Allow players to hold their action till their barbarian friend goes so they can combine a spell and a really hard hit from the barbarian. Either way, I think this one's a little bit more difficult to recreate in Daggerheart, but still something that shouldn't be too hard. I don't know. So I'm curious, are there any things you would borrow from Daggerheart? Anything you will be bringing from other tables to Daggerheart if that's the game you're moving towards? Let me know in the comments down below. And I'm back, guys, so expect some more videos, hopefully on Foundry version 13. I know everybody's been asking me for tutorials, so soon. Promise, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!